2023, a bill that is moving through the House right now will more than likely pass called the Retroactive Child Support Bill. I'm gonna get my mail today. Let's see. Oh, I got something from the Office of the Attorney General. I wonder what it could be. Oh my God, they're telling me that I owe retroactive child support for 9 months on a woman. I don't even know who she is. I gotta tell all my friends to get a rally, and we gotta all band together and get something done. Oh my God.
7 months earlier.
Oh, I don't care about this crap. Ugh. Ooh, video games. Hey, Abbott said he's gonna take care of dads and moms. We don't need to worry about this pissed off parent guy. Oh, who cares? This is stupid. Pointless. Let's kill some zombies. Woo! Woo! And get something done. Oh my God. Okay, on pissoffparents.com, what can we do? Don't say I didn't warn y'all. If you don't fix the issue, you get what you deserve. Oh, man. Good. A little technical glitch. It's a Friday. It's all good on Friday. Welcome to the Pissed Off Parent Show. Got a special guest tonight, Mr. Ed Brown from the
Hey,
Fort Worth Weekly. Say hi to everybody, Ed.
Hey, everybody.
I'm honored. I'm floored. I'm gonna be like a fanboy all night. For those that don't know, Ed is a reporter for the Fort Worth Weekly. He has been doing his thing in his own special way, fighting for the rights of parents, especially in the Tarrant County area. Just doing a lot of good stuff there. You know, I don't want to take anything away from him as far as some of the things we're going to talk about tonight. It's going to be really mostly his show. Just some quick announcements. Well, actually, I was going to announce. I was talking about the intro music and some other stuff. But I figured, you know what? I'm not going to. We'll wait until another time because I'm sure some of their longtime listeners are like, "What was that music?" Again, I'm getting strikes and all that stuff, so I've got to keep it all copyright compliant. So
It's got me amped up. I liked it. Yeah.
Oh, did you like it? Okay. Right, you know what?
Yeah.
Maybe we'll keep that. It's got that. Yeah, it's got that '80s beat and vibe and everything. So, without further ado, we'll let you kind of get into it. If you want to go ahead and do an introduction, talk to the crowd again. For everyone out there, the chat lines are open. Go ahead and jump in with any comments, questions, anything you want to ask Ed. I'm sure we'll probably be an open book, and we will kind of go from there. So, with that, Ed, take it away.
Well, Dwayne, I've gotten some interesting questions this week. People are messaging me and asking me how much, how they too can rent out the family courtrooms for their daughter's birthday party and whatnot. So it's been an interesting week, but that kind of leads into the story we have out this week, which is a family court, the 233rd, I believe.
I actually want to ask you. I was looking around and I saw this. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I think that's that might not be Rules ad, but that kind of illustrates what we're talking about. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I was just a little. Yeah, I was looking around and I saw that and I was thinking, well, maybe that maybe that's what you're talking about. Okay, I just wanted to make absolutely sure. I'll go ahead and bring up the article so we can jump right into it and we will go from there. Let's see here. There we go. Okay, so here you go.
Yeah, and there's some interesting comments. I just approved of one at the bottom. You might want to read that today.
You screen that? We go down there right now. Let's see.
Yeah.
Just past all the good stuff here.
Dia and Brooks and maybe it hasn't approved yet. I'm sorry. I'll have to read it. I'll have to go back and read it too. There's a third one from it. Oh, the gentleman basically said he gave his name, but he said the judges and people who were behind this event should be disbarred and fired for even thinking of this kind of event. So now folks are probably wondering what we're talking about. We're talking about a January event that recently happened on a Friday during government business hours. And this happened in a family. You can see the photo there. We had someone sneak a photo out to us, leak a photo out of the event there. And this was an event that, according to the flyer, was meant to benefit and raise funds for Brighter Possibilities exclusively. And, had they done this event outside of a courtroom or government building, it would have been fine for the judges to show up on a weekend. I assume there'd be no issue there. Or had they made this event public, free public events, come learn about the family court system, that would have been, in my mind, an ethical use of the courtroom. But this was a closed event. The tickets were upward of 180 something bucks.
Yeah, and an early bird special.
There's an early bird special, yeah.
Yeah, what was that? 100. There we go, 189. But if you paid early, you got the early bird specials, 139 bucks. Okay, a little pricey, but okay.
And all of those funds went directly to Michael Flores. So he's a gentleman.
Wow.
Not a government employee, not officially appointed by he is appointed by the courts. I apologize, but he's not a government employee. He's a private citizen who owns a private for-profit business. And basically he does his company, among other things, gives psych evaluations. They're called psych evals.
Okay.
This event in particular, I think we describe it as well, is kind of teaching counselors how to testify in courts. That's kind of interesting because in the past week, I've spoken to some parents who have told me that Brighter Possibilities, when they testify in court, it's often used by one party to kind of character assassinate the other. So we'll kind of talk about the process of like what psych evals are for. But can you continue describing the event? It took place over the course of an entire day. It was a closed event. There were some interesting connections between this counseling firm and these judges and Tarrant County judges in general. So I met with Michael Flores, and I should note that Judge Newell said that there was nothing, he does not believe he did anything unethical in making this courtroom available to this for-profit company. Okay. Michael, when I met with him, I asked him if he had donated or his relatives had donated to any Tarrant County judges. I wanted to kind of figure out, how does this guy have so much influence that he can just rent out a courtroom? I mean, I've never heard of this, although I wouldn't be surprised that, as I dig into it, if this happened before in the family courts, this will probably open up some other incidents I haven't quite heard about yet. But, to address things, broadly, the courts belong to the taxpayers, right? They belong to you and I. It's public, and for a private company to have access to it is unethical. And there's some other possible violations that could go along with that, depending on whether Newell was paid or given some kind of in-kind monetary amounts. Remember, these judges, when Kate Stone and Judge Newell, when they're in that, and you can see them in the photo, they're both there. Yeah. They're getting paid on the clock salaries from taxpayers to be there. Because it's a Friday during government hours. They're getting paid by us.
They're getting their normal what do they work, 10 to noon, I think, normally, and so they're getting their full 140,000, I believe, is what a first salary, or second year earlier on in their career. That's what they normally get paid per year, and so they're then getting double paid.
They're on the clock, but not doing what they're supposed to be doing, right? That's that's the issue. They're supposed to be on, if they're going to be there during government business hours, which technically is 8 to 5, I believe, or 9 to 5. They should be doing the work of the people. So anyway, it's there's no question that this is a very odd thing. But as I dug into it, I found out that Michael's father, Rene Flores, has donated, and that's in the article too. We might read that from the article so I don't mess it up.
And I'll put a link out. That's actually in the invite or in the main thing, but let me pop a link there, which should appear in the notes. But here up on the right there is a link to the actual article from the Fort Worth Weekly for anyone that wants to peruse that and fact check Mr. Brown.
Oh, go for it. You know what? If we're going to outsource help, I mean, it'd be interesting to see what are the donations his family or employees have made to judges, because with just basically a very basic search, nothing comprehensive, I found two sizable donations recently to judges. So there's probably more out there as well.
So you went to like followthemoney.org, typed in the judge's name, and then you're able to see who donated to his or her campaign. Okay, I'm just trying to
that's one way to
with
do
you there.
It.
Okay.
Yeah, that's one way to do. You can also just find these filings through the county website and go through. That's probably a more accurate way to do it, but time consuming. So you're gonna help me out here. So I think we have Beth Polos and DeAngelis were the two judges that his father donated to. And again, when asked, Michael said that his family does not donate money to judges. So that's, I think, we summarize the event, and people can kind of understand this is a very unusual thing for the courts to do.
Yeah.
And the next question is, why this company? Brighter Possibilities. How do they have so much influence that they could get these judges to clear their docket? And it's worth mentioning, all the family courts are backed up. Up to 2 years in cases. So people are waiting to finalize their divorce, to finalize their child custody agreement. It's no small thing.
Yeah, actually, I've done some research on some things, and I did a information request of the state. Title 4D courts, and I pulled in or had them send me how many cases, what the case count is for each county, and I have some other interesting information if we decide to go off into those little rabbit trails. But when I did a quick, and I'll just do this, there was no movie magic.
Yeah,
here.
This is interesting.
This shows the. Let's see, I'll make this easy for everyone. Tarrant County. So we see Tarrant County again. This is that. I like to be fact checked. I want to make sure no one's thinking I'm doing some weird Harry Houdini stuff here. So 98,000, almost 99,000 cases that are going on right now.
Wow.
As of September 2022. Again, it takes a while to get that information. So
that's more than I thought. Wow.
Yeah. And another interesting note is I went in and said, who's got the most? Who's got the most court cases? And I did a simple
I think it's just
sort, basic Excel information. And look at that. Tarrant County is 1, 2, 3, 4.
Wow. Okay. Well, I mean, not too surprising in that, based on our county size, we would, but for us to be that close to Dallas is pretty, and it's still crazy.
Well, it's knowing that we have so many court cases and we're backlogged for years. I wouldn't say, "Oh, hey, let's take the day off and have a little learning session, a little lunch and learn." They used to call it in the business. That just seems weird.
Yeah, no, it's insensitive to parents who would really appreciate to have that day to get on with their life to finalize some of these things. So yeah, that's an interesting thing to be adding there. So Brighter Possibilities, because there's kind of two parts of this story. There's the judges and what they did, and there's this company, and of course the judges are, if there's a serious violation, in the end it'll be for the judges, right? They're the ones that allowed this to happen. But the company itself is quite interesting, and I'm sure a lot of people listening understand psyche valves and what they're used for. Right. And they're one tool that, there's, as we know, there's a toolbox of things that people who want to, go after their ex-spouse or, ex whatever, there are certain toolkits, they can use, and we've seen them used over and over again, right? So there's the
old silver bullet.
There's false allegations. You get a temporary restraining order based on, false allegations that, immediately makes the other person look like they're a criminal. Protective orders, contact order, which I had an experience with that, with my daughter's case, had a no contact order placed for bogus reasons. And psyche valves. And of course, there's the general bludgeoning of people financially in court. But these are all things that you can do. But, if you had to think of the top 5, psyche valves are one of them. And I guess I'll, quick, personal story, because I know a lot of people in our circle of friends who've gone through the family courts. They've had to undergo psych evaluations, almost no history that would lead to someone needing, like, the people that I've talked to, myself included, let's just use myself as an example. So early on, when I was trying to be reunited with my daughter in Tarrant County, I was asked, I can't remember right now if I was forced or asked, what happened, but I had to undergo a psych evaluation from Brighter Possibilities. And that's the first time I heard about this company. And at the time, I thought it was very odd. It's like, there's absolutely nothing in my history that would say that I am, mentally deranged or a danger. Then it was clear, it's just another thing that they can put in front of parents, another barrier between them and their children. And there's nothing good that comes out of these psych evaluations. It's not going to come back and say, congratulations, you're a great dad, right?
Right, yeah.
You hope that it says nothing.
Yeah, I hope it's a generalized thing. I had to do one when I went through my divorce, and mine cost me, I think, right around $3,000. I don't want to put you on the spot and say how much did yours cost, but compare notes. But yeah, mine was about $3,000, and it was an interesting.
I think it paid about $2,000.
Okay.
And having gone through these,
coupon.
They had a coupon. Having gone through this test, I don't even know if it's a very credible test. I mean,
no.
You answer some questions, you fill out a long ass form. But then not to, we can joke all we want, but these tests the results can land with a parent being labeled unfit.
Right.
And so anyway, it's like this company, they're the ones that decide that, right? So it's a lot of power. I talked to a father for the article who did not want to give his name, but his main concern, one of his concerns was that these are private. In this case, it's a private company. Yeah, DA, you're right. They're basically personality tests. I mean, they're not. I wouldn't say they're really comprehensive at all. But anyway, this father's concern was that. It's a private company. It's not a government entity. So there's no accountability there, but they're appointed by a judge. So they're given all this power and what they say often has the weight of something that a court official would say, right? So when they come in their court, when they come in and they read something, it has the weight of what a judicial officer reading the same thing. And I do know to some attorneys, this has come up. The one is that Tarrant County judges are too reliant on these psych evals. And it's worth mentioning that it appears most of them are given to this company. So out of all the counseling service, businesses in Tarrant County, I've only ever heard Brighter Possibilities. So that's something that I have to keep looking into. How did they get this monopoly
exclusive contract? Yeah.
I mean, I don't think I need to ask. I don't think they have an exclusive contract. I don't think that would even be allowed, but effectively they do, right? And so have you ever watched Divorce Corp? The movie? Okay. Yeah. Remember that scene where it had Drew Pinsky narrated it, and again, I recommend everyone. It's available free out there on the internet through one way or another, or you can buy it. I recommend buying it, but if you need to see it for free, it's available maybe on my website. But you can. There's a section there where they talk about this, and they basically walk through that the fact that the judge says, okay, you're going to use this one or this one, and I'm going to collect the money, and I'm going to do this. And there was that relationship that it's not, you can't go to whatever one you want to. You have to pick one or two. And it sounds like Tarrant County is just, you pick this one. Yeah, it sounds like Tarrant County, this huge county, overwhelmingly uses this one company. So, that's another part of the story. Continue looking at, and I have, people who are sending me snapshots all the time of influential people hanging out with certain people with this company. They certainly personally know these judges. They know a lot of the high profile attorneys. They apparently socialize a lot. And that doesn't necessarily, that does not look good when you're trying to be a company that's impartial, giving these really important, these evaluations that may or may not even be useful. That's arguable that they're even helpful in the family court process, but yeah, they seem to be pretty well connected. But I haven't dug into that enough that I want to talk about all of that quite yet.
Yeah, you need to do the research again. You sound like you're definitely a research guy. Dig in there, make sure you have credible data, and then provide that information out to the public. Oh God, it's refreshing. I mean, I'm 50. I'm assume I have a year or two on you. But when I grew up, in that time when I was younger, I remember folks that were in the paper that's what they did. They reported the news. It wasn't oh I have a bent left, right, up, down, or whatever. They reported the information out there. They did the research and they provided it. And it's refreshing to read your articles, especially in the family court arena. I wanted to brag a little bit that I'm an old guy, so I have your hard copy.
Yeah, we do exist in print.
Yeah, still. I like to have the paper in my fingers there while I'm reading it on my special spot in the house. But I've become a fan of your work. I'm sure others that are on here have as well, because again, you're very thoughtful, very thorough. You report things that may or may not go against your personal belief, maybe one thing, but you report what the data shows. So I didn't want to turn this into too much of a fanboy thing, but I'm sorry, back to the.
And I appreciate that, and I hear a lot of people say, why aren't other media groups looking into family courts? And I honestly don't have a good answer. I would say generally judges are seen as untouchable.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you really do not see reporters mention judges in any negative lights. But that's more for me.
Yeah, well, I mean, they don't go after judges. They don't go after legislators that often. I mean, we had Victoria Nyave with her DWI incident in a few years ago. She was legislated in the JJFI. We have Harold Dutton Jr., who has been actually reassigned, or not reassigned, but he's back in as the front of it. He also had a DWI, and I'm like, why aren't they doing why aren't they reluctant to point all these things out and report on all these things? It's always buried or there's not information on it. It just doesn't make any sense. Well, I think it does make sense. It's just we're not allowed to talk about it. But yeah,
and I don't know why they're hands off for a lot of people. But I also not well, it's funny because they do retaliate, and I saw that with my harassment case where they can be very vindictive, especially if they ensnare you into something.
Right.
But yeah, and again, the family courts, what we come back to is, unfortunately, there are a lot of false allegations. So there are a lot of ways that these judges can, if they don't like you. And I'll give you an example. This gentleman that I talked to, he's the one that's a confidential source at the end of the article. I'm in touch with him, and he's sending me a lot of information. I need to go back and kind of dig through it. But he also, told me that when he started questioning broader possibilities, just basic stuff, just he was that led to his son being his parental rights being terminated or restricted severely. He hasn't seen his son in 4 months, and he says that's directly connected to him getting on the wrong side of Michael Flores. Wow. And he has a very, very compelling story of and he has provided audio recordings and whatnot. I mean, he's backed it up. I haven't reported on it, but it does look pissed off Michael, and this is what he would say. And because of that, he lost custody of his son. I mean, so that's another element that it'd be interesting to dig into is are these reports given? Are they given in a way that always seems to benefit a certain law firm? Let's just say, and if you can see a pattern where, if you hire this law firm, broader possibilities just happens to always, side with that defense attorney, that would be very interesting to see. We do know these defense attorneys know a lot of these people at the firm. So that's just, one other thing to look into.
Yeah, I've done a lot of follow the money, and I again recommend folks that want to fact check and find things out. Again, when the last election cycle was coming through Tarrant County, I was putting out information like crazy on Follow the Money, who's donating to who, the judge campaign, the district attorney, and others, and trying to get that information out there. And it was hard to get. You can get it, but it's pretty. It was difficult to get past a certain layer of information, because again, the way our campaign laws work, there's a lot of ways you can get around it. They put an amount down for that is legitimate, for that is reportable, and then you have all the other stuff. I wish we had transparency. It's just funny that again, I'll just say it right now, for those that don't know, I mean, I'm a very hard. I like to call myself a hardcore conservative. Ed, you are more left leaning.
Yeah,
admittedly, you've said that, and
sure.
this is one of the many areas we can definitely agree on, and all that. So it's not a party thing, and I'll knock my own. I hate to even say I'm a Republican, because I say I'm a conservative, but the Republicans are doing things that aren't along the party lines. They're doing these back office things. They're saying one thing and doing another, and they're the ones who've been saying for a while, we want transparency, and then we say, yeah, great, let's give us some transparency, and then we don't get it. I don't know if that's been your experience.
Yes. I'm so to talk about transparency. There were some sidebar questions here. Someone was asking if you can gather information from a private company, and there's no mechanism to write. And they're kind of like broader possibilities, doubly protected, because you would think, well, what about the judge? Can I get the documents that are handed to the judge? Well, those can be protected too from the judge, especially if it's something that has to do. There's a lot of ways they can do that. If it's in the course of the judge's judicial work, you can't request that through what's called a Rule 12. So they kind of have both ends. They're kind of protected from transparency on both ends. I would just say. So then, what you do, you have to just kind of dig where you can dig. You have to talk to people. You have to collect whatever documents you can from people who have been through Brighter Possibilities and other some other companies, and who have gotten certain things released. But I know it's hard, because again, it's not like his parents hired Brighter Possibilities. The judge appointed. So the employee at Brighter Possibilities is only accountable to the judge. And depending on the case, it can be really hard to get those documents. I'll tell you guys a quick story. So it's important people know that when you're requesting court documents, it's not an open records request. It's not FOIA. It's called Rule 12. And apparently, there's a judge in Tarrant County who's unfamiliar with what Rule 12 is. I'll probably get in trouble for this story, but I asked Joel through a Rule 12 request whether he had any documents or policies that allow people to rent the room from outside groups to rent the room. And I was just kind of curious, because if he's doing this, is it in accordance with a standing policy? I assume not, but I also, to check that off, And so he responded through his his court clerk, that I needed to ask the county for it. And I had to send him a copy of the Rule 12 law, because he was thinking that I was filing an open records request, I think. And the difference between asking the county for something and asking a judge, judges are the custodians of their documents. I can't ask the county for the judge's documents. Right. I can ask the county for their documents. And so I was like, has he never been asked? Has no one ever filed a Rule 12 request with him? I thought that was interesting, but folks should know how that works. And you would think it would come up in the course of when they went to law school, or at some point in the years that they've been practicing. And I think people don't know that they can ask. So here's what you can ask for. You can ask for a judge's emails. Say, all your emails you sent today. I want now. What you cannot ask for are things that are done in the course of their like work product, right? So you can ask. There's a lot you can ask for. And I would say a big one is communications.
Mm-hmm.
But that's called a Rule 12 request. And you simply say, you just email them. You say, this is a Rule 12 request for X, Y, and Z, and they have to respond within those.
So let me because I'm gonna go ahead and go third grader because that's where I'm at mentally. So like if I just woke up one day and I wanted to get a hold of or I wanted to ask Judge Newell or Kate Stone, and I just wanted to get all of their communication that wasn't private attorney, or private judge,
correct, yeah, or it wasn't tied. It wasn't related to a case. If they're just gabbing, they can gab between attorneys, and you can get that. But if it's related to a case, then they can withhold it. Yeah.
Okay.
But there's a lot you can get because they email people like we all do.
So how would you, and again, break it down for the guys here and back? How would you break that down? Because I've been in this arena for about a decade. I thought I knew a few things, and I get a hold of the 10th degree black belt here of knowledge, and you're spitting some stuff out there, and I'm drinking it all in. So how would you go about that? Just find, and again, I'm picking on Kate Stone. I'm for anyone that's out there, I'm just picking a name because it's familiar to me right now. I email Kate Stone at Tarrant County Court, whatever.com. Hey, Kate, I need all of your emails from blah, 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 blah. Is that simple?
Correct. Yeah, you have to, you can email, I guess for judges, you typically would email their administrator.
Okay.
And yeah, so I think their administrator or the court clerk, I think is what they're called as well. And you would just, notify that it's a Rule 12 request. Reading the Rule 12 request, you can Google it. It's not that complicated. It's not like the Texas Public Information Act, which is like 80 pages. It's pretty simple, and it outlines what they have to give and the timeline for it. Just some basic advice. If you ask for all their emails, if you ask for too much information, sometimes they can say that like it's too. I guess you could do both. I think the clerk is generally the one that's going to be more responsive. The judges, I've never judged through my email, so at least the clerk would acknowledge that they received your response. Probably it's more productive. You can CC the judge if you want. But yeah, you don't want to ask for information that's too onerous because I think there are some ways that you can kind of get out of it if you ask much. So I try to be specific, and a better way to go about it would be to have keyword searches. So you could say on like all emails between January 1st and February 30th, sorry, it's not 30th and February 28th with keywords Michael Flores or from this email. And the more you can kind of help them, the more likely you are to get it. They will often, so here, I'll give you another funny story. I'm always playing this game with county where they're trying to block what I'm asking for. And often when they block it, that's a confirmation that they're hiding something. And that can sometimes confirm what you're trying to find. So like there's a JP, Justice of the Peace, Christopher Gregory, and I'm looking into some of his employees possibly falsifying time chart. And so I initially asked for this information, and do we have to use variations? I don't think so. If you're going to email, I would just go with what you think they're doing. Yeah, the formal spelling. Well, anyway, so I'm asking Christopher Gregory through records requests like stuff that basically he doesn't want to. He doesn't want to release because it'll help corroborate what I'm looking into. So he appealed it. He used the district attorney's office to try to appeal it. And then I went back, and it's kind of a fun game to play. And I asked for all communications between Christopher Gregory and the Open Records Division because I want to see what they're talking. They're like talking back and forth about how are we going to hide this information. And sure enough, those communications exist, and they're trying to hide that now. So you can kind of go back and add. There are different ways you can kind of do that.
Well, okay, so I'm going to play, I was going to say devil's advocate, that's probably not the right phrase. So how do you know they're going to give you all of what, it's like, I asked Bob Jones, I need all the communication, this type of communication between January and February. How do I know that what they send me is correct and they're not hiding something.
You don't. You're relying on hopefully their fear of violating the Texas Open Meetings Act. I'll give I've had examples of, there was a former constable, Jody Johnson, who deleted some stuff that that showed he was misusing government property. And what's interesting about the Jody Johnson story is it's actually similar to Newell's, except that we know. Okay, so here's what Jody Johnson did. Jody Johnson, there's a penal code violation for improper use of government resources. So this applies to public officials. They use the county lawnmower to mow their backyard, right? Stuff like that. And depending on the value of what they gave away for free, it elevates the criminal, right? So if you let your secretary, major secretary, do personal work for you, she gets paid $15 an hour. If she did for 2 hours, it's a $30 violation. But if she's working for you for 6 months, it's probably a felony at that point, right? Wow. So Jody was using his county secretary to help with his campaigning on the clock. She was doing work, and I have these emails, and these emails came from a confidential source. And so what I did was, once I had these emails, I requested those same emails from the county, and guess what? A lot of them are missing.
Ooh.
But I knew what was missing because I had the missing documents. A lot of times we don't have the luxury of knowing what had been taken. So there are examples where they can delete things off their computer, but I know for the county, they have their own servers. So there's 2 levels to it. They can delete stuff off their computer, but it doesn't delete it off the server. Yeah, I mean, to your point, it's not like someone from the Open Records Division walks into an office and says, "Hey, you need to hand these emails." Or what they communicate, "Hey, the Open Records Division will send an email, say, "Hey, can you please supply X, Y, and Z," and we have to trust that they do it. So I know it doesn't sound very
kind of
reliant, and and they sure enough. I mean, I don't know what has been hidden from me, because you don't know what you don't know.
Right. Yeah. I mean, because you're not requesting this of a judge just because you woke up in a funny mood on Tuesday. You're thinking something's going to be juicy, something's going to be wrong, and then you're relying on that person to then tell you the truth.
We're relying on them to hand over often stuff that could be, possibly incriminating. But that's the way it works right now. That's the system we're in.
I have more faith in gas station sushi than I would. So, I mean, wow, that's good. Actually, I think someone had mentioned. Oh yeah, Steven asked a question. Do they charge a fee, and can they redact out certain privileged case-related information?
They can charge a fee. I know the Open Records request allows for a fee system. And it's all enshrined in the Texas Public Information Act, what they can redact. It's often, like, I think birthdays are one of them.
Social security numbers, that's sensitive.
Social security numbers, yeah. Sometimes, I've seen counties refuse to release stuff because they just don't want to redact it. There's a lot of ways that they can avoid complying with the law. And I would So. But wow, it's worth it. I would encourage folks to wake up tomorrow, pick out a judge in Tarrant County, ask for their email today. Because if you don't exercise that right, that's our right. Those are our emails.
I mean, speaking from my line of thinking, a right not exercise is a right lost. So
correct.
That's one of those things. So I do want to just if you had anything else on this. So do you know how much they made? In the 189. I mean, I guess I can do the math. Like, look at the pictures. Let me pull it back up here.
I have to kind of guess.
Kind of like count the. Whoops, I'm going wrong.
I asked him how much money he raised. I should say he, because he was very big that the money went to him for speaking that day. And he did not answer. You may not know the number off the top of his head, to be fair, but
Yeah. I'm counting 20-ish
okay.
people there. So 20 times, I'm going to say 200 because I stink at math and I still couldn't give you the answer. I'll have to pull my calculator out. So what? 200 bucks times 20 people would be what? 24,000? This is why we have calculators.
Yeah, or a little $2,000. Yeah. And there's an interesting, like, did he do it just for $2,000, or did he do it to show these counselors how much influence he has? He has rented out a courtroom. There's a district judge sitting behind him. Kate Stone's in the corner, and he's leading the show, right? So he's also signaling to his colleagues in the community that I can do this, right? I'm in a position to do this, and that might be where some of the value, comes is just posturing. No other company, I would say, no other, small beans company is going to get access to a courtroom during Friday afternoon. So.
Right. Yeah. And actually, I did the math, $4,000. So he.
Okay. Not significant.
Not bad. I mean,
one day.
I don't know if they included luncheon with that or how that worked, but $4,000 off the taxpayers' dollar. And then, of course, whatever they made, I didn't do the math on $140,000, broken out for a day of work.
And to put it another way, we're subsidizing that money because we the taxpayers provided the building, we provided the judge, we provided the security, we provided the light. I mean, so it's a very interesting thing where we're kind of subsidizing this company that I have nothing to do with, right? So.
Yeah, we didn't vote on it. We just say, hey, let's do that. Well, actually, I think people were kind of knocking around ideas, or like I think someone were talking about maybe renting it out for a birthday party, movie night or something, or I don't know, do some whatever.
I've heard some suggestions from some friends of mine.
Yeah. I mean, there's lots of options out there. So again, I guess we need to ask that question: can anyone rent it? And see see what answer we get. It's just weird, and I guess it's still an ongoing discussion trying to find out what's going on. I mean, you still haven't. You haven't got that final answer.
Yeah, and and again, this is just one tiny element of the family court that you can go down this rabbit hole, but. Yeah, I'm still interested in this company, and I've had a lot of people reach out with a lot of personal stories, none of which are good, none of which are positive, and some interesting, it's just some interesting stories that I'll have to kind of follow and see if it's part of a pattern.
Well,
I mean, again, So again, I'd be particularly interested
I'm going to talk about it from an IT perspective. I'm an IT nerd. I build websites and and help people out there. I'm not a fan of this website. I don't know who built it, but
okay, you're gonna go there.
I'm sorry. I'm gonna throw
it's a low blow. It's a low blow.
Yeah, I'm gonna say I guess whoever these guys are. Reach out to me, Pissed Off Parent. I'll be more than happy. I'll put a bid in to give you guys a cool website that might help might drum up some additional business. Of course, it sounds like they don't need to. Well, you know what? I just thought about that. They don't need to. They've already got that. It sounds like they've got a pretty good little deal going. I know you probably can't comment on that. I will.
Yeah, they don't have to solicit business because the judges are giving them business, right? They just just make a lot of money.
And if we look at the number of cases that are in Tarrant County, let's just say X percent of those. Let's just round it up to 99,000. Let's say half of those, so 49-ish thousand, will need some psych eval at $2,000 a pop. Well, let's just then put that back in. That's a couple dollars.
It's a lot. Yeah, it's a lot, and they do seem to be used, quite liberally in the court system. These psych evals. And I've had an attorney tell me another perspective, another critique of these psych evals. It's kind of allows the judges to be lazy. They get this final report from this person, and they can just use that to pick a winner and a loser. they're overly reliant on this system that's I think is kind of questionable. This argument's going to be, maybe people will not all agree with it, but something that kind of struck me as well is, I forgot, I looked up the statistic, right? I need to double check, but a lot of Americans have mental health, live with mental health, mental health problems, or they struggle to deal with some really real things, and I don't think they're all bad parents. So just I think it's 10% if I remember right. Have a mental health disorder, but the very idea that as soon as you're found to have this problem, you can lose your parental, I don't understand that either. I don't know what that really says about these parents that have maybe genetically they develop depression. And okay, so one other point, which is, because I was thinking about this today, I wanted to talk about tonight. Going through the family court process induces a lot of these conditions. I mean, I know when I went through, I've gone through it twice. I'm in another battle right now. It is traumatizing. It'll induce serious depression, clinical depression. So
you're being threatened with the thing you love most in this world, your children. And
at that point, to test them on how you doing, are you holding it together? It's like, no, I'm not. No. This family court thing is destroying me, and I'm having to undergo a psych evaluation because my ex has $4,000 to burn, and the judge got a donation from this company, so here I am, and I'm stressed out, and maybe I won't look that good on the test. I mean, there's so many layers to this. I just don't understand how people can justify this as being a good thing for their parents.
Oh yeah. Well, and to your point, I mean, you imagine you go in there, you're standing in front of the judge, and you find out that the person he's telling you to go to, those guys, there's something weird going on there. So in the back of your mind, you're going, something's not right here, and you say to yourself, what are you talking about, Willis? I mean,
you got it right.
I'm a Gen Xer. I have to pull in Gary Coleman, God rest his soul. Yeah. Love. I was a fan of Different Strokes back in the day. Still am. Still watch it whenever I can. But yeah, you have that, and you're going, and you see what's happening. Then later you learn what's going on. I mean, when I show people the data that is readily available through request, they're just shocked because most people when they go into the court system, they think, oh, it's like Matlock. I'm going to go in. I'm going to present my evidence. She's going to present her evidence. We're both decent parents. We're going to walk out with equal custody, or it won't turn into this me being accused of or deleting people or hurting my children and all the nasty things that come out of it for profit. One of the scarier things that I show people, and this is just something that I just do for fun, and I'll kind of do it here real quick, just so there's no movie magic. So you have in Tarrant County, this is who's paying child support. I'm sorry. This is it's the number of people. There's actually others that have the amounts, but who's paying child support? So you add let's see some, and I'm sure unknown was just kind of messed up there. So we take that. Let's see, equal, and I messed that up. Let me back that up real quick. Hold on. I'm usually very good at this. I'm a tech guy, so we'll just put that. So that that gives you that number. We'll just kind of roll that down. All right, so we will take. Actually, that's going to be a wrong number because it's going to re-add it. But so we have 47,904 between the two, and then when you take the percentages there, 7%.
Okay.
And this tells you which gender is paying. Who pays child support more, which is of course based on custody. So I don't know if you've seen those numbers before or percentages.
You've mentioned, I saw the 93% on the poster you made today, and now I see it's dead on accurate. So yeah,
Yeah, and again, this is the Title 40 funds, and it's just odd that this is the way it rolls. That 93% of the time when me or you walk into the courtroom, this is these are the odds that 93% of the time the dad's the quote worser parent, or shouldn't get the equal custody or different custody, and it does happen both ways. I mean, I'm the exact opposite. I have 100% custody of my child. I get paid child support, and I didn't have a choice in it. There are others out there, females that have lost their children, and that it's not going to be 100% across the board, but based on all the data that we have to work with collectively, that's the spread, and that just sounds kind of weird.
And Texas, I mean, it looks like Texas is well above the national average. I've got some national data, and we may be most skewed in the country. I mean, that's 93% is really, really, really high.
Yeah, the rest of the country is in that 84, 85 percentile, and it's getting a little bit worse.
Hopefully trending
looking at the
down.
Yeah, no.
It'd be interesting to look at how Kentucky with their 50-50 presumed.
That's been an interesting one. What had happened, and actually on the pissedoffparent.com site, which I, of course, recommend everyone go to, all the kinds of free information I'll actually throw up on the screen there for anyone to go there, and you can see all this information. After they passed equal shared parenting in Kentucky, there was a downtick in snuggle struggles and all those issues. And then what happened was the state had a shortfall in their funds because of the Title 40 funds, and now they're scrambling, trying to figure out how to overcome that shortage.
Sure, not a surprise, but yeah,
right. Which is why I believe, and the data supports it all, that equal shared parenting is such a contested issue in Texas because we get I think last year we got an $89 million bonus check from the feds, and then the amount of money, I think it's 60. It's roughly 70 to 80% of the folks in the OAG, they spend their time collecting child support. So the majority of that OAG budget for personnel, that's what they do, so they can get those Title 40 funds. So there's a lot of other fun stuff in there. We get too nerdy here, but for people that like the nerd stuff or want to fact check me or go out there and do that, I recommend you can go out there and Google it yourself and find it, but I've got it all in a nice handy place called pissedoffparent.com. It has all that data, videos, and all kinds of fun stuff that people can go and check on. Now, Ed, I wanted to ask you, and again, let me know where your comfort area is here. So you didn't wake up one day and say, you know what? The family courts, there's something up with them. I am going to start digging into this because I've heard from Bob and Sue and Joe, and they're telling me how horrible it is. Something's going on here. I don't know if you want to jump into that or talk about the story a little bit.
That's a good segue. I've had the misfortune, as a lot of people have, simply trying to be a parent has led to a lot of financial ruin, a lot of trauma, mostly from the court process. I would say maybe 20% of it's from my ex's, misbehavior, but it gets magnified, exponentially, through the court process, just by the way it's designed. But, quick update, I have a beautiful daughter, and, knock on wood, after a lot of litigation, that's settled. And things are going well with that. That's my daughter who, they used the harassment charges to keep her from seeing me. And, I had to go to trial against the White Collar Crime Division because that's a whole nother story.
It's just Sherilyn, it's so insane. I did follow it. Yeah. It is insane that they would do that, and then what they did with your family it's insane. There's nothing else I can say about it.
Yeah, and it's just, it is a reflection on tyrannical rule in Tarrant County. It's at all different levels. It's not just the family courts, but it permeates the whole county. But after overcoming of those people, unfortunately, my son's has kind of flared up, and what I wanted to talk about tonight is kind of the struggles that fathers have with children who live out of state. My daughter lives near me, and I see, which is great. And we'll always kind of live next to each other. But my son lives in Ohio, and that's my ex-wife. She's using that distance to try to use the courts to basically say, to paint me as kind of a delinquent father. Because I can't fly up there every month, right?
Right.
But as I was talking to you earlier, to be clear, I've always exercised my for him to visit. So he's here during the summer, spring break, alternating Thanksgiving, Christmas, before, after, that standard stuff. And I've been up there several times. But yeah, and in their court filings, they're saying because I don't visit every month. That I'm absent from his life, and that's completely bogus. That's my son. I have had a good relationship with him. He's a great, brilliant, talented, smart
Look
kid.
at this old man. I mean,
he's right 8 inches taller, so he's got one up on me. At least in that regard.
I'm there too. Yeah.
Yeah. Our kids eventually outgrow us, but he's a super great kid, and I'm not quite sure what happened. A couple months ago, I noticed the stepdad started describing himself. He was asserting that he's just as much Isaac's father as I was, and
what?
I think we've seen that happen in other situations. They get a little too comfortable, and they start thinking they could fill a biological role, which there's one. With all due respect to good step parents, I'm definitely not dissing role they play, but there's a father and a mother child, and I don't know if it's because of that, but there's also a tendency when you have when you have a child that's out of state and the mother remarries, there's often a tendency for them to just try to sever the string with that with the dad. I mean, they may not want the kid to visit, maybe too much of a hassle to them, but for whatever reason, I'm back in family court. Didn't see that coming, but
that is just so. Because I mean, when you look at the data, which I'm assuming, I'm sure you've researched it, the damage of not having the father, especially in your child's life, the lifelong problems that result from that statistically.
I have, it is,
yeah. You just wish that the mom and the stepdad would, see the bigger picture. When so you all were married and it didn't work out, and then I guess she decided to go back or go wherever she was going, and then because you said she was out of state.
Yeah, she's from Ohio.
Okay, is that something that you said? How did you? Kind of get. Let me know if I'm getting way too personal, but
no. It's it's all good stuff. I really have not shared this story. But, it was 10, 11 years ago. But what initiated the need for the divorce was I came home and my son was gone and she was gone, and they'd given no notice, and they had fled. Her mother helped her. They fled the state. And it was over a year before I saw him again,
Oh my God.
And again, kind of speaking on, dads that have had to make these really hard decisions, and moms too, I'm sure. I had to really deep and think about, what's in the best interest of my son. And knowing that his mother had no friends and family here, had no support net system. She didn't have she wasn't working while she was married, so she had realistically no profitable career aspects,
right.
Options rather. And so at the time it was just a very painful, it'll always be the most painful decision I've ever made, but I knew that if I used the courts to drag her back, that would not be in the interest of Isaac either, because he needs his mom to be well and healthy and to be in a place where she can be, whatever had to that episode, right or wrong, she needed to heal. and to, deal with some things. It was she left. It wasn't because of anything I did. I'll just say.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
But so yeah, and I would say, that, she did get her life together. She did remarry. She has stability, but she certainly has no gratitude for the sacrifice I made. Not that she owes me anything, but I did take on that burden of the pain of not seeing my son every day,
Right.
to help my son by helping her. And yeah, I think a lot of whenever I think a lot of dads who've had to let their sons go, or not go, but like the distance
Right.
thing. It's not easy. I don't think it's ever a decision that's made lightly, and I don't think we should ever look down on dads that don't their kids every day. There's a lot of things that that can happen. So
It sounds like under those circumstances, you made the adult decision. I mean, you did the man thing, you did the guy thing, which is you sat there and you looked at the big picture, the long term, what's gonna be best for my son. Basically, spending probably his and his grandkids' inheritance on fighting this thing. And it's again not about the money, but there is the stress of. I mean, as you mentioned earlier in the show, it's like you're in a war zone when you go to court. The fighting, the back, all the back and forth, making it contentious. Of course, the courts don't make it any easier. And you said, you know what? I'm gonna do what's best for my son, and have him go there. I'm gonna have, and it sounds like you've done everything you can possibly do, even through all the things that have been going on over the last few years, to be in his life, and then now they've decided that they're just gonna that meant nothing, and they're not gonna do what's in the best interest of your child. That
yeah.
just
And to be clear, I've with both my children, I pay a lot of money child support. I'm up to date, with my child support. We're saving for my. Oh, shouldn't say it's not, but we're saving for my son's college. We're doing everything a paternal family should do.
Yeah.
When he's here, providing lessons, music lessons, resources. I mean, he's an active part of our life, and there's in no way can anyone suggest that we've abandoned my son. But and just reading, their false allegations. It's there. There's no. They can't even have a coherent, accusation against me because I haven't done anything. So they're using this very vague language that Isaac, when he comes home from visiting me, he shows signs of anxiety and certain things, and they're inferring that I'm the cause of it.
He's probably a little sad that he had to leave his dad, and as he's getting older, the data, and I don't know if Dr. Brooks McKenzie is on. I probably need to pull that book out. There's other research articles, but the data shows that after a son reaches a certain age, it's pretty much primarily benefits from being with the father almost exclusively. And I know that'll probably upset some viewers and people out there that think, whatever, but that's what is one of those. Don't be mad at me, be mad at the data, because when boys and girls are without their father at a certain point, especially we talk about the tender years doctrine when they benefit more from being with the mom. That's one thing, but after that bonding and everything, and they get a little bit older, they actually do much better with the father. Again, I know people will be upset because that's very anti today or whatever, but the data is the data. You can't, I just repeat it, and it's out there. But that's a shame that your ex-wife is not appears she's not looking out for the best interests of your son. So that's hopefully I wish you luck in that area. But you're in Tarrant County, so.
I'm in Tarrant County. I can't think of. Well, I have a hard time thinking of a judge I trust.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he didn't. The mother told him to visit last Christmas. So we bought tickets, and we have a decree that says he has to visit, and we are going through an enforcement action on that. I have a good attorney.
2503, the Diet Coke of which I believe you were there when I talked to Sheriff Wayborn about back during. Yeah, you were there. You took the pictures. That was part of that article where I talked to Mr. Wayborn, Sheriff Wayborn, about the lack of enforcement of 2503, and actually he gave he was going to have that issue resolved by the end of last year, and I'm trying to get in touch with him to see where that's at. I haven't been successful, but so it sounds like that's 2503 is still an issue in Tarrant County.
I think we're relying on the court-ordered decree violation. Maybe we're talking about the same thing. So
it is. 2503 is
okay.
When they violate the custody. You're supposed to have your parenting time, and they, for whatever reason, don't allow you to have that time. That is a state penal code, state felony, 2503. That they're supposed to go into jail. I mean, it's a bad thing. But I call it the Diet Coke of jail felonies because no one enforces it. Yeah,
I would say it would be nice if they did start enforcing that, because the only alternative you have is to file a petition in court, and that's $2,000. Every time she doesn't bring the kid, who has $2,000 to burn every time.
Right, and it's a court order, because we know if you did not pay your child support, you'd be in violation of 2505, which is two sections down. They would toss your hiney.
No one would have to follow anything. They would just come get me.
Be a done deal. Wow.
Yeah, 2503. Just my 2 cents. I know the law enforcement, their concern is they're going to overwhelm with cases, and I think, why don't we just start by keeping track? Show up, document the violators, and then you'll have data, and you'll know who's violating the most, and then just start arresting those people. You don't have to, what I mean? Like, it doesn't have to be an overburden for the police or the sheriffs. But they would just keep track of the data and have a policy for, addressing the most egregious violators. I think word would get around that you have to follow these court orders. I don't think it has to overwhelm the system. I know that Phil Sorrells and some people have talked about being concerned about that. Don't make it a problem if it doesn't have to be a problem. Like.
Oh boy, you're throwing bombs at me right now, because that's one of my pet peeves. Because actually, Mr. Sorrells and I did a little tango on that topic specifically. Actually, on Larry O'Neill's show, there was some back and forth. Well, he was talking, so he didn't want to meet with me to talk about the data, but. I did talk to Tiffany Burks about it. She was unaware of it, but she was going to investigate it.
At least she said she was very interested in looking into ways to enforce it from her end.
Yes. Oh, yeah.
She definitely took it very seriously.
Yeah. I was very surprised that I'm trying to find. I don't know if I include the Excel spreadsheet. I did not. On the pissedoffparent.com website, I have the conversations I had on video with Sheriff Wayborn and most of the information, but it's they're simply just not enforcing it. And the data that I was able to pull in, it shows who violates, how many times it gets violated, and then what's happening with that. And the fact of the matter is they do not enforce it, and they won't, personally, because of the bread and butter. You're not going to put your bread and butter in jail because of the Title 4D funds and the money. Again, 93% of the time the dad's paying, 7% of the time. So who's receiving those Title 4D funds if they start putting females in jail for violations? Because that's who will end up going. Will be the females. Now, when it's men, it's an Amber Alert. I don't know if I've been, again, we're getting way off, but whenever you start viewing a lot of these Amber Alerts, you find out it's just a guy that just wants to have custody or time with his child.
It struck me because with my son's case, I was married, and whenever she took him, I could say kidnapped, the police would not do anything.
Right.
I remember calling the police, and at the time I thought, man, if I took my wife's kid, they would beat me. Like, they would be busting in my door.
Oh yeah.
There's no mutual respect for fathers in a lot of ways, and that's one that I do remember very clearly. The police just saying, tough And I was like, well, I know what happened if I stole Isaac. And the mom was calling. I thought parents were equal, right? But yeah.
That's the thing. Now there is what I find funny is there's actually a bill or it's been filed that mom and dad need to be
Tiffany
equal in
Burke's
the eyes
on
of the
here?
law. Is Tiffany on it?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, where is Tiffany?
Tiffany, we are saying nice things about you.
Oh yeah.
We were talking about the 2503. So
oh yeah.
It's too bad that we do not have a DA who cares about that. I'll just say.
Yeah, I actually we have it on the record that Phil Sorrells came out and said that he won't really do anything about it. It's not a priority for him at all.
Mm-hmm.
I think we take him at his word on that one. And that's unfortunately what we're gonna get on that topic.
It's just one of many things. But something else I wanted to mention tonight. Actually, let's go two things really quickly, because I started off talking about this story that the Weekly has out this week about Newell renting out his courtroom to this private company.
Right.
And when I opened the article, I was pretty clear on starting to talk about the backlog of cases.
Right.
And that's makes this one of many things that makes this so egregious is that people are waiting on their cases. There's a backlog, both in the criminal courts and on the family court side.
Right.
My ongoing litigation with my ex-wife, the judge in that case, a Tarrant County judge, is trying to have the jurisdiction removed from Tarrant County to Ohio, because they're so backlogged, which is not my problem. I did not cause them to only work 4 hours a day and to not fix the problem, but because they have caused this, or are complicit, I should say, with this backlog, they are trying to get rid of any cases they can. Mm-hmm. And fathers or mothers, who are hurt, be damned. So, I'm facing a situation where not only am I having to, answer for, bogus allegations, but I may have to answer for them in Ohio, which is exactly what they want. They want to make this as difficult as possible for me.
Right.
And this judge, who's read the docket, probably understands what's going on, is more concerned with clearing his docket. This is the court that has the biggest backlog of all the family courts in Tarrant County. And it's I'm not going to say who it is, but it's no secret. And so one thing I'm going to be looking at, so again, it's reprehensible that these judges make their problems the parent's problem. I'm going to be looking at is I want to start measuring and make it help me, measuring the family court backlogs. I want to rank them. I've actually had attorneys ask me to please look into this, please report on it, because for the attorneys that actually care about their clients, they don't want their people are waiting 2 years or having to wait. Imagine being told, we can't finalize your child custody. You have to live with these temporary orders that may be horrible,
right, for
2 years. That's and you show the data on where Tarrant County is with cases. Why aren't these working until 5 o'clock? I don't understand that.
Or put in a weekend.
Put in a weekend.
You do.
We work like 3 times more hours than these judges do. Go to the family court, courts, whatever they call the building in Tarrant County, at 1 o'clock, and see if you find one judge. But yeah, these judges are very complicit. I know COVID happened, but they should be working their butts off. They also were probably not. During COVID, I'm sure they weren't doing much. They were still making a lot of money. But catch up on your. This is your job. But yeah, so the backlog. It's not only affecting people. It's actually adversely affecting their abilities to be parents. My case being one example. because these judges are more concerned with the numbers, how it looks,
right,
clearing their dockets, fixing the problem, and taking responsibility for the case or their jurisdiction.
Yeah, and that goes into, I mean, I'm glad we have Tiffany on as well, because that was actually one of the, when they were talking about the huge backlog of cases for the DA and what Phil's and her plans were. Phil's was basically like, I'm going to plea bargain everything and all that, not providing
It was worse than that.
And just, yeah.
No, I listened to his interview very carefully. It was much worse than that. He wanted to ask the state for grant money to bring his old golfing buddies who are retired, so they can make money. They can double dip off, because they're still going to have their retirement, and they're going to get this extra money. And aside, they're not going to file the office. So these are unconstitutionally qualified judges who are basically just mooching off of us. I don't necessarily think that bringing back 9-year-old judges, they're going to make the most coherent decisions. But that was Phil literally just said, "I'm going to give my friends money. That's going to solve the problem." And Tiffany actually had an actual solution to the problem.
Yeah. I mean, had an actual solution. Actually, I saw a comment here. And I don't know. I'm looking at Steven's comment here. Afternoon rounds of golf aren't just going to play themselves. I mean, come on, Ed. Have a heart. The golf course, they need to make money. They need the judges. They make so many sacrifices. That 4-hour window.
There's going to be winners and losers, and I mean, they're going to be a little bit slower between noon and 4 p.m. On weekdays at the tee off, but. Some people might actually get their custody things settled. So it's a trade off, right?
It's a trade off. I personally, need to get a GoFundMe account I like Steve. We should buy them some free cocktails because they certainly deserve it for all the help that they've given all of us.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I saw that. And I'm like, I gotta capitalize on that.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of an out-of-the-box idea. Can we collectively pull our money, buy golf courses, and mandate that they shut down from noon to 5? And then maybe the judges have nothing better to do than to maybe stay a couple extra hours, get some work done.
I mean, when they're on the golf course, they can do their re-election campaigns and get. Oh wait, no, that's what they do that already. Never mind. I'm trying to think what else they could do. Now we're just poking fun at their expense.
Yeah,
but and the thing is they are dealing with people's lives, children, families, our society as a whole. Because again, divorce and all these things, it impacts everything. It doesn't matter if you're married, not married, have children, don't have children. You are impacted. Just the whole society is impacted by these decisions. And having judges that aren't putting the time in, they're making decisions based on money and not doing the right thing, which is what they were elected to do. I mean, I have a naive
they've lost
way
sight of
looking at
that.
things.
Yeah, they lost sight of that pretty quickly when they started working.
Actually, I did have a good idea. Zoom hearings for golf courses. Get some good Wi-Fi out there.
We could bring out laptops, get some hotspots going, and we could follow them around with a laptop.
Well, we do have a problem though, because they won't broadcast the hearings anymore. They're doing that back during the bug and everything. But
I was thinking we could actually help broadcast actual cases. If there's a defendant waiting in the courtroom, the judge is out at the golf course. We could bring the case to the judge so you can roll on something. Whatever we got to do to make it happen. So
I would say anyone. Put those in the comments.
Yeah, I mean, I worry about the ramifications of this backlog because they know that judges are actively just scooting off cases. Who's to say this judge wants to get rid of my case and send it to Ohio because I won't say why. But who's to say the judge in Ohio is not just as busy? Like, why are you going to just garbage on their lawn? They might be more backlog. I mean, it just shows. I mean, in our profession. We don't, our work, our jobs, our colleagues. I mean, in what other profession is that acceptable? I mean, I thought judges respect each other, but, in Tarrant County, they're just like, get rid of the case, just get rid of the case. Who cares if the other judge is even busier? Um,
I mean, I mean, the idea that I have that no one's going to like is we do a presumptive 50-50. We assume that both parents are fit, willing, and able. You walk in, you're both are equal, and then if there was a reason to change from that, let the facts bear out. Dad's a pilot. I like to use that analogy because then he's gone all the time. Then it's okay. That doesn't make sense, and then we do appropriate child support for the child, and then we all move about our day. And that would actually clean up a lot of this backlog because there's such an incentive. There's such a payday to, well, for the attorneys especially, but for the parents to get that control and do all it incites and promotes this. They're creating their own problem and they just keep wanting to throw more money at it. It's like having a pressure cooker and just trying to throw some ice on it or something. I don't know what that is, but if we had presumptive equal shared parenting, which groups like mine have been trying to do for the last 20 years, to get that done, this would resolve so many issues. Like in Kentucky, as an example, and there's now 2 or 3 other states that have now passed those equal shared parenting bills. It would solve so many problems. The issue, though, is that Title 4D, the cottage industry, all the millions that funnel through and making that budget, we're told that it'll never happen simply because of that, because Texas relies on those federal funds. I believe we're at 38%, I think is the number, of our budget. That's what we rely on federal funds for.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting you mention Eric. When I talked to Eric Carroll, when I interviewed him for the
Eric, the name's not familiar. Eric Carroll.
Guy who tolerates you from time to time on his show.
Well, he
endures you.
He endures me.
He's a supporter of the 50-50 thing too. But he actually, said I have real concerns about that until we clean up perjury. And again, I was thinking today, because a lot of people have solutions, a lot of people have what's the most important thing we can do to clean up the family courts? And I think a good argument could be made for taking the money out of it, all the money that attorney fees rack up. But right now, I'm really thinking the best thing they could do is to punish perjury. That would
awesome.
I think that would clean things up.
Yeah.
And he said, that actually Eric Carroll said, I think this actually has more of a chance of getting passed by legislators because politicians, they're used to being attacked with, just false allegations. And I know a lot of them deserve it, but it's also true. Do just make up stuff. Politicians, get harassed a lot. So they might be sympathetic, he would say, to this idea of, that we should punish people who lie, who attack people with, basic accusations, because politicians face that as well. So, and I, and having been through 2 cases myself, where I just see there's no accountability. You can just go in there and make up stuff. Maybe it sticks and the other person loses parental rights, but if they don't, there's no consequence. You have nothing to lose by going in there and making up stuff, right? You have nothing to lose. So why not just go in there and make up stuff and see if it sticks to the wall? That's the way the family courts work right now, and it's ridiculous. If you make false statements and you have caused someone else trauma based on your false allegations that are provably false, there should be some serious consequences for that.
Well, actually, I'm sure you're aware of the Jeff Morgan video. I like to call him The Godfather, where he went and talked to Assistant District Attorney. I'm trying to remember her name, where she actually said, "This is how you get better custody. This is how you win the court fight." Is the allegations? I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but there's a video. Actually, it's also on Pissed Off Parent. He allowed me to have it on my YouTube site. But you can watch that, and she says essentially those words, that's how you get a leg. I'm sorry, she said this is how you get the leg up in divorce, domestic violence. They teach this, and I often wonder what went down at the little the shake and bake luncheon there at the courthouse earlier. When they were teaching that master class, how did they? Were they just talking about, Gotta wonder.
I don't know. It was interesting. They call it a tactical training, like kind of militaristic language they were using. You can show the flyer there.
And navigating the master, navigating
the
court.
Maybe it's not. Maybe there were two flyer had the word tactical. I do remember it said tactical training. Okay. But I mean, the big thing they were talking about was how to testify. But who knows what they were? I mean, I don't know what all they were talking about. It could have been some shady stuff.
We'll never know because we weren't invited.
I was not invited. Yeah. I heard the doors were locked. Locked. No one was stumbling. No one was stumbling in there. So
the courts weren't open to the public, is what you're saying.
In many ways, unless you spend $180 something to put in the pocket of Michael Flores.
Interesting.
But yeah. I mean, I think it's when some stories have hit a nerve from the blowback you get, and we got some interesting emails from some attorneys who were up in arms about.
Offended. Oh, I'm offended.
Yeah.
I can't imagine.
How dare?
Yeah. How dare you do that? I can't believe you would talk bad about me. Yeah.
And not just people who had a vested interest, that had a direct connection, I should say, just some attorneys in general. And my editor forwarded me one. He was a little concerned. I was like, I've never met a family court attorney who understood, who actually was critical of the system. I mean, and I know some they're very bright, and we'll talk about these things, but they seem to always downplay it. Right. So the fact that an attorney, was downplaying criticism of their system did not concern me. So
would he want to? I wonder if, it's one of those. I'd love to talk to him. I'm sure you'd love to talk to him and sit down and walk him through because they're one of those things where people that do this type of work, they turn their brains off. And they don't see the damage they're causing. They just think they're part of the cog in the system. I don't want to.
I don't think it's all. Oh, I was just. I don't think it's all willful ignorance. I think when you're in the system, it just looks different, right? Because you're walking in there, or nice to you, they're saying hi. You get you walk special privileges. You're in the system. And so I don't, even well-intentioned people, I don't think can have a clear understanding of what's going on. And you're right, there are people who are willfully ignorant, and they just know what's happening, and they just don't want to acknowledge it. But I think there are a lot of good attorneys who just they've just been in it too long to,
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these judges have been in it way too long. I do court watching for other judges that do have their videos on YouTube, which I think they should be public for everyone to see, so we can watch and we should be able to court watch that. I mean, that should be all right. And I see judges making, actually, on a few previous shows, I've seen actually Judge Webster down in the Beaumont area. He's been I say the word fairish. I mean, he's called out people. He's done the right thing to both the man and the woman when they deserved it. So there's an amount of that, but I just don't. Well, I'll never know, because for the most part,
very rarely. There was a video I saw. It was out of state. It's several years old, and it just popped up on my Facebook page. But it was a story. It was a broadcast of this courtroom hearing. This judge sentenced this mom. Background, this mom had stolen this husband's kids, and for years they couldn't find him, and the siblings were split, and the dad didn't know, and they finally found the mom, got her back to a contempt hearing, and not only had her serve a lot of jail time, but had her serve consecutive years of jail time, like a month every year, at the date that this father found his daughter. And it was so refreshing to see a judge do what we would call justice,
their job. Yeah.
But I also realized I've never seen that happen before. I've never witnessed a family court judge. I mean, like, why don't we have those moments, I think people would have more faith in the system if they saw justice being done. Someone who did something horrible held accountable.
Right.
Just, man, that's like, wow, I've never seen this happen before. Judge holding someone accountable.
Yeah, holding people accountable. You would see justice being done. Well, we talk about the Johnny Depp Amber Heard case. There was a lot of allegations. I don't know where you fall on that. I think it's probably safe.
Yeah.
I think it's all safe to know where I fall on the whole thing. But seeing it televised, we could actually see it happening. The OJ. I don't actually.
I do.
The OJ
I was in middle school. I was in middle school. Yeah, I remember OJ.
God. You know what? You just ruined my Friday.
I'll dye my hair gray next time I'm on.
There, if you could, yeah.
You got your hair black. That's right.
But watching the OJ trial, that was one that the nation watched. From start to finish, and it was a crap show. Lots of it, just the theatrics, and they sensationalized
Love
it.
Don't Quit. Must have quit.
That was a big one. I think that was the thing that just pretty well did a lot of damage to the defense, was that moment. But seeing that carried out, people walked away from that. They could have been happy, mad, whatever, but they went, what? I saw every bit of that. That's justice was done. Whatever that was. They couldn't be.
Sure.
Oh, he's. There's still people that rumble around that he's still guilty because he wrote a book and whatever else that was. They found him guilty in the civil trial and different things there. But had it not been televised, or had people not been able to see it, they would have went, oh, that was, it was he was found not guilty. Oh, it's because he's rich. It's because whatever those reasons are that people will come up with. But seeing these things unfold, and also if we publicize a few of these, this is what I told Phil on the 2503 issue. You put one or two of these people in jail for custody interference, the rest will go, oh my God, that's why why don't you commit bang bangs or murders or snuggle struggles with people? I'm sure you're a moral guy and all that good stuff, and it never crosses your mind. But there are days, I'll just be honest here, there's like, boy, I would love to just end that person. But I go, you know what? I don't want to go to jail. I've seen people in jail. That's a bad thing. I'm not going to do it. Seeing people being put in jail for doing bad stuff is one of the reasons I don't do bad stuff. If we start prosecuting just a couple of these 2503s and these other things, that would, I assume, go a long way to stop that problem instead of being rewarded with that. Because when people find out, oh, no one's going to prosecute a 2503, no one's going to prosecute custody interference, they all do it. They're emboldened. Just like speeding. If you see everyone speeding, the cops just sitting there eating a donut, not doing anything. Oh, okay, we'll just keep speeding, and it gets worse and worse and worse and worse.
I think Larry O'Neill had a good version of it, because when he would talk to people, they would say, "Well, this is not as a murder or a burglary," and by the letter of the law, but to the parent, it is that. I'm sure a lot of people in this thread have, and I have many times, experienced a child exchange that doesn't happen, and it's horribly painful. And if the extent that things should be legal, or things that we consider morally evil, that should be something that is enforced, because the pain it causes people is just as painful as having your car stolen or whatever. So right. Yeah, I agree. John Mast.
Article here about John Mast that I believe you did that one. I don't want to misquote. I believe it was and I assumed it was, but I didn't. I can't remember where I saw.
It's okay. I wrote this one.
John Mast. He was a gentleman that tried to get his kids after years of false allegations. They proved. Thankfully, they were able to prove they were all false. Eventually, he went to go pick his children up after, I think it was 2 years. And he was so happy. And then the ex-spouse had allegedly. I have to say that until the trial's over.
Not guilty yet. You're right.
Allegedly had her dad, John Mast's ex-stepfather, shoot him. And
based on false allegations. Based on false allegations.
Yeah, false allegations.
And we talk about the accountability thing. what has his ex-wife done? Hiding these false allegations, hiding children from their father for 2 years. Imagine the pain and suffering, John went through. And then at the end, just to be murdered. There will never be accountability for his ex-wife, which should tell us that there's something wrong with the system.
Right.
Her dad's the one who committed the murder. So her dad's going to probably, go to prison. She's not.
No.
What's wrong with our legal system that law for what she did? I mean, what she did is horrible, reprehensible. But yeah, our laws are really interesting, and you can learn a lot by what's illegal and what's not illegal. And a lot of things that are legal are horrible acts. A lot of things that are illegal or arguably shouldn't be illegal. Like
right. Yeah.
It's
weird. I mean, we have Tyrone Darling out here in Arlington. That was
I mentioned him too. I finally got to mention him in that article as well.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I have a list of custody exchange murders.
Really?
Basically, after John Mass, I talk about the gentleman.
Okay.
Lubbock, or was it Lubbock?
Lubbock.
Okay. Yeah,
I know. As we were talking earlier about the names, and it's not to be disrespectful, but I'm old. The names just all come together. Actually, I interviewed her on a show a few months ago. Wow, the widow. I wish I could.
It's okay. Yeah. But there were some similar, tragic stories.
Yeah. And it's because our laws are set up in a way that rewards that type of behavior. And it's horrible. We've got to change it.
Yeah.
And on that unhappy note, I know we've been chatting, and I don't want you to, be like, oh my gosh, I'll be here all night. But one, I want to know, kind of final thoughts or thoughts about kind of what we talked about, ideas for helping Tarrant County, things, that people could do to make things better. I'll leave that open. And then two, things, anything that you would want to tell your children. The thing with my son is very difficult.
I believe there's a lot of parental alienation going on, and I'll eventually get a chance to talk to him about it. And I thought about texting him something. I haven't. I'm just trying to be very careful in communicating him. But I wanted, if I did, I was thinking about, telling him that I hope he understands one day when he's a father, everything that I've gone through and continue to go through just to be his father. 10 years ago, it took a huge court to get him back. And, I'm going to go through whatever I have to go through in battle. They're not going to win because I'm never going to give up on my kids. And, one thing I think, that we can all believe in is unless there is provable evidence of neglect or abuse, and I mean provable, not hearsay, not I hired this really good defense attorney who can get a TRO when you need it. Both biological parents, if they're loving, they need to have access to their children. And we're so far away from that. I mean, we couldn't be, we're just, the family system right now does not acknowledge basic human right that both parents should have rights to their children. Children should have rights to both parents. We have a long way to go before we as a country live up to those ideals. Things I'm optimistic for are groups like this. 10 years ago, when my son was taken from me while I was at work, I came home. There was no Facebook group I could talk to. There was no messenger group I could talk to, commiserate, watch. I couldn't watch Dad Talk, which is a show that I really enjoy. I enjoy watching you on it. Those are small things. They might seem like small things, but they're really big things because people no longer feel alone when they're going through this. And there is something to be said about the community building, that comes from this. I also think that we're reaching a critical threshold of parents who have had such horrible experiences rulings and judicial misconduct on the justice side and on the family court side, that these people are when you take out, you've created an enemy for life. There's a lot of people who have righteous indignation, and the judges may think they're nuts, or they character assassinate these people. We know who we're talking about. But there's a small army that's being created of parents who have been screwed over, and they're going to figure out ways to rectify the situation, no matter how long it takes. So it's bad, but there's also there's a reason that we're going to keep talking, and we're going to keep doing what we're doing, because we will win in the end.
Oh, definitely. And actually, kind of a segue, aside from, I like to kind of just throw it out there for everybody. Well, one, again, if you need to run a courtroom, there's an option there. I don't know. I spent a little time on that one today. I kind of love it. I mean, and actually, if you look at the picture, they look like real estate agents. So, I mean, it's kind of a cool thing. You have a bar mitzvah, you can have a party, sleepover. I mean, all kinds of cool stuff. So yeah. And I like to, again, mentioning, again, Pissed Off Parent is my organization, kind of an army of one, and yeah, I help Eric out with Dad Talk today. Great organization. He's doing a lot of things, actually, a lot of big stuff on the horizon for that organization. There's a lot of other great organizations as well that are out there. I do, talk about helping out the organization, of course, by donating. I don't look for donations for Pissed Off Parent. I kind of keep that separate, because I like to self-fund, and I just do it for free because it's my way of giving back for poor choices as a kid. I have no idea. But one of the things that Dad Talk today does is they're actually selling T-shirts now, and this is helping get the conversation started. This is actually, I've actually bought this shirt. I wear it around Tarrant County when I go to lunch or wherever, whatever I'm doing. And it's saying here, instead of asking fathers to fight harder, start asking mothers why he had to fight at all. And that actually gets conversations going. So if you're people that are out there are trying to figure out, how do I get that conversation going, or I feel weird about it, wear that shirt. You will have some conversations started. Sometimes you like it or not. But, they have that, and you can actually hit the QR code and go there and get it. It's actually a very nice shirt. I should have wore it for tonight, but they have that one. It has another shirt. It's not as a problem. The problem is not toxic masculinity. It's a lack of masculinity. That's a
little more controversial.
A little more controversial. Yeah, it's one of those. I'll be honest. This one is a kind of a again, the 93.7, especially in Texas, that this is a much easier sell. Doesn't matter who you're talking to. The other one, it can be. And then, of course, when you're out there, actually, I have one of these. I don't have it right now, but the tumblers, you can have that. They're really good. But these are things that get the conversation started. Highly recommend if you feel like doing that, go to the site and order those. But a lot of good stuff there. And again, if other organizations are tuning in and they want their stuff sold and to get the word out, or I'm equal. I think, Ed, I'm equal opportunity. I want this to end. As 30 seconds of my story is, I have 100% custody of my child. I get child support. I'm not in this for money. I am in this because I want society to change. I want it to be
we should all.
For our kids.
We should all. I think Eric had a guest on, we're ending, but Eric had a guest on one time, or maybe he said it's like, one day, if you don't have kids, one day you might have a kid, and it could be a boy, and you want that boy to grow up in a country where he can lose access to his children, just because of the way our court system's set up, for something he didn't do. There's a lot of reasons that we should care about the next generation of young men coming up, and wanting them to not have to go through what we've gone through. That's also, I think, part of our goal. So, yeah.
Excellent. Thanks, Steve, here, great job. Ed and Pop, as a team, you two should get a courtroom together. All right. Maybe we could rent it out and do it live from the courthouse.
I think the 233rd is up for sale. So let's just see what they're charging and go from there. So
sort of like a GoFundMe or something for it. Sounds like a plan there. All right. Anything that you want to say to your kids, or anything at all, or anything else you want to talk about it again. Floor is yours. This is all you.
Yeah, yeah. I'm a proud father. You know, I love my son. It pains me to see this rift that was unnecessarily created for absolutely no reason. But you know, maybe there's and my beautiful daughter. You know, I of course love them equally. Mm-hmm. But you know, maybe well, you know, here's a final thought. You know, it's we're in a club. You know, you, me, you know, Dia, Steve, Joseph. We're in a club that no one really ever wanted to be in. It's no one would ever want to have to, you know, have to deal with the issues that we're talking about, the dark stuff. But you know, for whatever reason, but it's a beautiful club. I mean, I'm just saying, but it's not, you know, there's nothing glamorous about it. We've all gone through horrible experiences that bonded us. You know, for life, I think. But, you know, I have to find meaning, you know, in the stuff that I've gone through. And for me, you know, luckily I have a job where I can hopefully shed some light on things that are happening. And it is personal. I don't mind saying it. You know, some people might say, oh, well, journalists shouldn't be personally invested. Well, I think it makes me work harder. I think it makes me dig deeper. I think it makes me just do my job better because, you know, I am part of this unfortunate club of people who have, you know, had their parental rights taken or questioned or just all this crap. So yeah, you know, I'm trying to turn, you know, anything that happens to me that's bad, I'm trying to turn into something positive. And I appreciate outlets like this and others that are, making something good out of something really, really horrible. So.
All right. Well, yeah. Ed, I mean, the door is always open. Love to have you on. Like I said, I'm a fanboy. So is that I'm 50, so I try to come up with all the cool, you know, I try to pick up on all the cool words. Is fanboy, is that like good to say or bad to say?
If you were single, it wouldn't help get you a date, but you're married, so you're good.
I'm good. Okay. So all right. I mean, it all love that. Yeah. I'm just, I, you know, ever since I, you know, met you the first time, I was like, this guy, he's sharp. Oh,
we got it. There's a bromance brewing here.
There's a bromance. Boy, I wish I would have had some like cool bromantic music playing. That could have been a funny ending.
The bromance music. Yeah. Well, I'm a big fan of your two shows as well, so it's mutual.
All right, awesome. All right, well, gang, thank you all for tuning in and staying with us. We were actually on, an hour and 50 minutes. So, thank you again for being. If you have questions, be sure to reach out to Fort Worth Weekly. Reach out to Ed. Any questions that you have, any way you can help you out, I'm sure. And of course, keep pulling, keep reading that paper and seeing where he goes next. So I'm sure we'll have him on again here soon and see where all that goes and see what's new there. But
there will be another family court story, unfortunately for some judges and companies. But yeah, there will be more.
Unfortunately, there will be. But yeah, for till the next time, y'all have a good one.
Thanks for having me on.